this objective storytelling take place.
What are you looking at?
The man whose day I'm over with.
I'm not looking for trouble.
Maybe I am. Maybe you better get out of here before I find you some.
All right. I've got stuff to do anyway. Come on, let's get out of here.
So, something weird happened there. Did anybody notice? If you're a traditional role player, something just happened which kind of made you super mad. And I'm going to roll the clip again and see if anybody actually notices what that was.
What are you looking at?
The man whose day I'm over with.
I'm not looking for trouble.
Maybe I am. Maybe you better get out of here before I find you some.
All right. I've got stuff to do anyway. Come on, let's get out of here.
Anybody catch it?
You didn't get to choose the finishing line.
Awesome. So, Shepard acted on his own. What if I didn't want him to do that? What if I wanted him to turtle? What if I wanted to make up with the Batarian, or try to do this, or try to do that? Oh my God, my role-playing experience is busted. What's going on here? So really what we saw was an innovation we did called auto-reply. And auto-reply basically is, hey, I didn't say that. This is my character acting on his own. Like, what's going on here? My agency's been interrupted. Like, this is just craziness. Like, this is the worst role-playing game ever. Is it a lack of choice? Did we just counter what we were trying to do? And when we look at all that, really it all comes down to this idea of the agreement. And what the agreement is a set of rules that binds us to the player, the designer to the player, and the player to the game. So we're going to be going through what these rules are and how we actually preserve the role-playing experience by still taking some of the first-person and subjective role-playing attributes and applying it to this new model. So we're going to be looking at some cool stuff here. So what is it? The agreement's a covenant we make with the player, and it's a set of rules which we just, are unbreakable when we start designing story and we design features and all the rest of it. It always comes down to, does it make sense with the agreement? It's a set of rules that govern choice and expectation. Like I said, it binds the player to the role-playing experience. So no matter what we do with the narrative or what we do with our features, we still have that great role-playing experience. And it allows the player to access the avatar in a meaningful way. So we're going to look at what this agreement is. So firstly, it's the idea that interface for choice is predictable. Choice produces results the player expects. We give the player choices they want, and most importantly, it's the player's story. So we're going to be looking at each one of these, and we're going to be looking at examples that illustrate each. So firstly, let's look at interface for choice is predictable. So when we talk about the interface for choice, we're talking about the dialogue wheel. And the dialogue wheel was kind of like this innovation that happened, evolution of the list system that we had for KOTOR and Jade, and it was still part of the design for Dragon Age. But it allowed us not only to fit a nice, cool little GUI into an HD screen, which was obviously a consideration when we were building this game, but it also allowed us to do some really cool things because now we're in this new model. It didn't allow us for verbatim responses. It didn't allow us to write out exactly what Shepard was going to say because we're voyeuristic. This is not us. This is Shepard. So really the design of it is allowing us to influence the scene as opposed to directly influencing the player or the playing character. So we're just going to map some stuff here real quick. And when we look at all these blue choices here, these are all dialogue responses that the player can make. And what we do is we actually map them to the dialogue wheel. So when we take that conversation tree and we make it so people can actually interface with it, that's kind of what happens. And we have a cool little indicator that you can move around and make choices. That's basically the design of it. So we made it very simple for the player to interface with the story. So there's a couple of things to the dialogue wheel. It's a very simple thing, but it's very deep. And that was a design choice that was made on purpose, obviously, because we had to cater to not only the people that were hardcore role players, but people who didn't really care too much about the role playing and just wanted to experience an interactive story and shoot things. So we had this idea of the behavioral player. And when we look at behavioral, basically we're talking about the predictability of the subtext of what is being said. So when we look at the dialogue wheel, every place in the dialogue wheel actually has an emotional response attached to it. For example, Paragon is, do the right thing in the right way. Renegade is do the right thing any way you can. Neutral's kind of get me out of the conversation. Friendly and hostile are pretty self-explanatory. And investigate is give me more information. So this is actually our first layer of predictability. So a player who's behavioral will actually just flick through and doesn't really read what's going on and just I'm playing Renegade and man I'm taking every Renegade option, and they're reacting to how they feel about the NPC as opposed to trying to be a role player. So it's mapping the emotional reaction of the player, and that's really the feedback loop. The NPC is doing something, making me feel a certain way, and I'm responding by making a choice. So once again, the choices acquire a subtext, because I know that no matter what is said in the Paragon section, the subtext is do the right thing in the right way. So we have another sort of way of dealing with choice on the wheel, is that now we add this idea of a paraphrase. And a paraphrase really is the second layer of predictability. So once again, we're narrowing down what the choice means without actually telling you exactly what's going to happen. So we combine this idea of the paraphrase, and really the paraphrase is just a replacement for what Shepard can say. So there's some debate as to what a paraphrase actually is. A lot of people say it's what's in Shepard's head before he says it, and some people say that it's just an abbreviated derivative of what he is going to say. But there's small little design sort of tweaks in there. But if you look at this example right here, let's say I'll look into this as being an example. We understand that to be a Paragon choice because it's in the Paragon section of the wheel. So it's not like he's saying, I'll look into this and being snarky. He's saying, I'll look into this because he thinks it's the correct thing to do. So we understand the subtext as well as the meaning behind the choice. And investigate is the same way, where we're asking about abusing suspects. We're expecting more information. And as a designer, I need to be able to give them more information because I just made a promise to them due to what the paraphrase and the position on the wheel is, that they would get more information. So we're going to look at some choice produces results the player expects. And we're also going to be incorporating things that we just learned from the dialogue wheel into this example. So I think this is on Omega. So this is a dancer on Omega. And it's what we call like a light interaction, or something that it doesn't really have a lot of meaning, but it's a cool thing. You go to a bar, you can click on a dancer, and she dances for you, and it's Mass Effect, right? So so we're going to be looking at this example, and we're going to be manipulating the wheel to show what happens if we change the subtext of the position. So as the game shipped, Tip was in the Paragon position. So you can tip her. So when you tip her in a Paragon position, it's kind of like, okay, like in my interpretation of that, and everybody could be a little different, is that she danced and I gave her money because she did a good job and I'm satisfied with the result and I can walk away. Like, it's like I expect nothing else. But what happens, and okay, so we're going to take a look at that interaction as it's shipped in the game. as a player, I really don't expect much from that interaction. It's just something you do in a bar, and we kind of try to fill out these areas with as much interactivity as possible. So what happens now if we move that tip to the investigate portion of the wheel? Subtext changed, right? So we've always, what we've said to the player is, investigate always means give me more information. So we're going to take a look at that same interaction, except now you'll notice that it kind of doesn't make any sense, because I'll keep on choosing tip, and I'll be getting kicked out back to making that same choice again. And a player can be confused at that point, because they can say, okay, well, do I have to keep tipping her to get a plot? Or do I have to keep tipping her to open up some kind of new plot in the game, or get something out of her? So we end up breaking the covenant. So I'll be showing you that same clip now with tip in the investigate portion of the wheel.